Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the third and last of the Galate talks about women in, uh, um, in human rights um, and for human rights. As you all know, this is a historic day on the 10th of December. We had the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Today is the Human Rights Day, more precisely. And I have to say that in my country, which is Argentina, this is a historic day, especially for women, because at these very moments, they are discussing at the legislature, at the legislative power, the abortion law, which is 100 year old, but still needs to be discussed about. And of course, it should be updated. So good for my fellow countrywomen who are fighting there with their green handkerchiefs. And I'm going to ask everybody to mute themselves so we have no problems with the sound. Well, I have to introduce myself, of course, Veronica Pereira Carrillo, and I am honored to be the coordinator of this cycle of 3 series of talks, of Galate talks. And today is a momentous day also for us, especially because we have an international artist with us, which is Layla Reguiaï. And welcome, Layla, and thank you so much for accepting to share your art with us. And I would very much like Ms. Xenia Ponset to give a proper introduction. She's our chairwoman, so we are lucky today and we can listen to her, who is also an international artist. So please, Xenia, could you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. So good evening and good day, everybody, depending on where you are. So it's evening in Europe and day in Argentina. So I would like to present you Layla. I'm very happy to do it, and especially at this day, this important day, the day of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So Layla, she's German-Tunisian artist. She's half German, half Tunisian. Her mother is German and father is Tunisian. And she, did all her studies in French and French school in Tunis. And then she came to Paris to study art. And she obtained bachelor degree in art in Paris and stayed several years there. And then she decided to go back to Tunisia to live her artistic life there and her personal experience. And she stayed there like 10 years and then decided to go to Germany, where she continued her artistic journey, where she lives currently. She lives in Düsseldorf. So it's quite international because I'm currently in the Hague in the Netherlands and she's in Düsseldorf. So we have 2 hours of drive in between. So yes, and I would like Layla then now to talk about her art.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Thank you so much for inviting me for this special, very, very special day of the Declaration of Human Rights and Women's Rights. Let me talk about myself. As Xenia said, I live and work in Germany. I'm a self-taught person, multidisciplinary artist with different origins. I describe myself like I am imperfect, just like the grammatical time, because I consider my works as unfinished and incomplete. I'm searching myself, so like I'm searching my identities. The viewer gaze defines my work, not my brush strokes. Sorry. Art is my guide, my sanctuary, my freedom. Whatever happens, art is my lighthouse, helping me to navigate throughout the twists and turns of my life. It can be overwhelmed, almost drowned in the banalities of everyday's routine, almost give up. But art always pulls me out. I consider art as a thoughtful association of images or a perception of objects. Through a medium, I used to tell my story, which can find echo in other people's stories. Art has always been a way to express my perception of the words, my feelings. My palette contains mostly sober colors, which express only the essential. My work can be autobiographical, filled with strong emotions to complex questions arise. Growing up in a fairly conservative family, art allowed me to exteriorize my experiences and feelings and emotions. It has always been therapeutic, helping to relieve not only family wounds, but also those coming from the outside. On one hand, I received this very conservative family education with a strict father, very strict father, and on the other hand, I was in a French school where the ideas of liberté, égalité, fraternité, so the currencies of French, were deeply instilled. So those national currencies of France are at the heart of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That's why all my academic and current work relates on these mottos and represent a cry for the respect of women's rights and of human rights in general. Andy Warhol said, art is a book of oneself from A to B, and then going back, A represents oneself and B represents others. Warhol always needed the others to understand this work, like me. So, on the Warhol's work, we find a performer, grabs it, listens to it, and reacts to it. I share these ideas in my work as well. Living in Paris, in France, in Tunis, Tunisia, the capital, and later in Germany right now, I realized that on certain subjects and at certain degrees, of course, there are some topics that they aren't really convenient to be reasoned. Moreover, my experience of life in a conservative Tunisian society on one side and a quite open-minded French on the other side, was at some point controversial, and thus raising plenty questions for me concerning my identity as a young woman. Consequently, I started to inquire myself about subjects such as injustice, taboos, and the acceptance of any kind of differences, of rejection. Hopefully, our society made significant progresses in these sensitive topics. However, we can still sometimes have a feeling of rejection, like I felt. While touching the boundaries between acceptance and some still highly delicate topics, subjects. And this is exactly where I interfere, balancing on a cord like a circus acrobat. Let's start with my work.
Okay, can you see the screen, please?
I can see the screen.
Good. You just tell me, say next, and
Okay.
let's have a look at if we can just play. Okay, can you see the full screen now? Excellent.
I can see it.
Okay, so well, this is the flyer, and let's begin.
Okay, this is my work, my last work. It's called Love in Books. Love and art are free like birds. This is a series of drawings that I made during the lockdown between April and June 2020. Yeah, this is, for example, the brotherly kiss on the left and a brotherly kiss on the right too. Next. This is, we see no kisses. So this series of drawings at the beginning of the COVID-19, I was sick, so 8 weeks. And I needed to draw something, to breathe out, not breathe in, but breathe out too. I produced a series of drawings entitled Love is in the Books. It was the first time when humanity slowed down almost all the activities and remained home. I guess, like all of us, I was terribly lacking the simple human contact. I felt myself completely alone and needed to talk freely to my closest friends, my drawings. Before came to my rescue. I started drawing pictures restlessly. The series Loves in the Book was born, which name comes from a Tunisian expression, says that all love can only be imaginary, impalpable, invisible. But there is a paradox because love can be visible, palpable, real. In Tunis, for example, a kiss in a public place can easily be punished by law. I remember the story of a couple who kissed openly in a public place in 2009 and were sentenced to 4 months in prison for indecent behavior. Behind these fraternal, historical, symbolic kisses between men and women, there is an idea of reunification, of freedom, of expression, of proximity, regardless time and distance. Can you move to the next PowerPoint, please? Love in the books is an open page of my own story as a small part of global story of no one day's life. Germany is a country where human rights are respected, of course. However, despite the high level of tolerance, there are still a lot of topics which are not completely accepted and even can be worked to rise, especially those concerning domestic violence or life of LGBT community. For example, the body and the body language, the body and the body memory, body as a part of our identity, the body we shape, deform, reconfigure to handle our identity. My identity is my heart, which is inside my body. Next PowerPoint, please. My art comes from my soul and body. My art is the mirror of my personal experiences. Next, please. So this is I selected a few drawings what I've made during the lockdown. From the drawing Love in the Books, I've drawn one per day. So it means perhaps 30. And that was my selection to show you what I've drawn. Next, please. So I have made other images of minorities during the lockdown. And I'm deeply interested in what happened in human rights. For example, on the left, I've seen an autoportrait who is titled Masked but Non-Muzzled. I hope I've really, yeah. The second one is I Can Breathe, and the third one can recognize everyone, I think, when someone were killed by a policeman in the United States. Next, please. So we see Simone Veil on the left, which is very, very important for the women's rights in France, for me too, as a woman, as a thought, as a way of life for me. In the middle, this drawing is titled L'Elbia. This is in Arabic. Then it means a woman who can be sailed. So, but women are not to sail. So this is the paradox. And on the right side, it was a drawing for an organization, association who fight the racism and the inequality between men and women. So next, please. So let me talk about a project who I've made in 2006. So it's named I'm a Scar. It was about, I created a tent made out of fake skin. I named this installation Histoire de Peau. So history from scare. To explore the idea of scars and other traces on skin which appear on us in exchange for the experience and wisdom we get. My primary inspiration source for this project was the work of Erwin Brücke, a Flemish Belgian artist, and his Misshapen horses. Brücke is an artist from a family of butchers. The second source of inspiration was the work of the Egyptian artist Rada Amer, who explores the position of women in modern Egyptian society by weaving in nudity and opening the intimate parts of her body in public space. Next, please. So we see the skull, the skin together, but they are all a wall of fragments. So in a tent, reunified in a tent. Next. So this is an elaboration of the tent. We can see the different color of skin. They have violented, they are only like fragment, and they are here. Next, please. So this is a detail of those violence. So I'm scared here the weaving of fabrics, skins, that reminds the flesh from a butcher's shop. These shreds of skin are the remains fragments of skins. I put them together, fix them with stitches to transform them into something new. There is something causing right here, which means who races cut organic tissues and put them together, wall of fragment and not the contrary. Next. I created a tent as shelter. Shelter saves nomads, who lives in deserted places. The tent, made of skins of cornel envelopes somewhere mutilated, can also be considered as a space of mutation, of a space of crisis. So next. So let me talk right now about a very, very emotional, for me, project, because it took very long time, almost 2 years, to talk about this. This project is a reply to the work of Georges Perec in his book titled Species of Spaces. Next, please, Veronica. Espèce d'espace in French, Träumen von Räumen in German, where I deal with my identity crisis. This is a concentration of memories and spaces. The project started out as a tribute to the Black Page in German history, the concentration camps, because behind it, I felt guilty for my lost German identity. Next. So we see the legs. We see the scar. We see the skin. Next. Here, my artistic work is inspired by the work of Christian Boltanski, French painter, for his memory spaces. Memory spaces, spaced memories, exhumed memories. We can also cite the photographies of Christine Perkins. This is a war photographer from the agency Magnum. In a broader sense, the legs are the base. They carry us during our whole life. The corporality highlights a physical, tactile state of the body between appearances and disappearances. I'll name it that ghostly appearances full of body with mutilated legs. Next. Next one. Frozen bodies, mutilated bodies, memory bodies. Art is a matter of identity in identities, reflections. Frozen bodies, crops are the crossroads of desired and constraints. The I body, body play. Body as a species of transitional object, which are transformed and which in turn are transformed. Body simulation, staged bodies construing a dialogue between death, the loss of an object, and the daily woman's life. Next one, please. Body love, body guilty, and body corpus in search of reparation. Malleable body, open bodies as being in an enclos lieu, concept conceived by Arno Stern, teacher and inventor of the concept. Creation of a field, free space without a window, open not on itself, but on itself field with an original code and universal, in direct contact with organic memory. Next, please. So we see here, it's about it's about the, how do you call that, Xenia? La tâche.
A kind of attachment. It's a sentimental attachment, la tâche sentimentale ou...
Non, la tâche, simplement la tâche.
Stain.
The stain, yeah.
Stain.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's about the stain. It's about the fragment. Thank you for helping me. It's about the fragment to make a wall, like a tent in the scar. It's like lots of fragments to make a collective installation with lots of images in one. So finally, whatever the medium cheat, the term raised will be that of the Freedom Corps. So next one. So let me talk about my future work that I've started last year, and it's called An Essay. An Essay is women in Arabic and is about weave the meaning of blood. So I'm currently continuing questioning my status as a German Tunisian woman or Tunisian German woman through menstruation. My new work is entitled Nise, which means woman. However, since etymologically, Nise had the plural inse, which means human. It will be here to consider women in all their singularity and complexity as humanity, detached from the classic view as a counterpart to the man, here as a human being in its entirety. I devote myself to feminism, which the social questioning of the female body and its consequences, with the main focus on menstruation, to create new perspectives and to rethink the concept of his stigma. Next one, please. So I've start with my red thread. Is like all the adjective absurd, all the adjective who make the woman not the equal to the man. So like unclean, rejection, loss, pain, guilt, forbidden is something that you didn't have choose to have your menstruation. You as a woman, you have to have it and to be always like to feel so always like you were not a human being. Next one, please. Next one. So every word in this time is allowed. I will finish with those words, which means a lot for me because it's a Tunisian proverb. And I will answer then why not every woman and man cannot be considerate and welcome as they are. Article 7 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights: all are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equality protection of the law. All are entitled to equal protection against any discrimination and violation of this declaration and against any incitement to such discrimination. Thanks a lot to let me speak about it on this very, very special day of the Declaration of Human Rights. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you
so much, Layla. I think you are saying the truth. And there is nothing that causes more scandal than the truth. And you go to the real truth. I mean, not this, sorry, I will make the question a little later. Xenia, can you please?
Yes, of course. Well, I have, concerning the last work, your actually current and future work, I have the question because I saw things written in Arabic. Could you please explain us what is written?
Where? You mean on the
Yes, on the last images. Well, you
Yeah.
have to, yeah.
It's about menstruation. So can you please translate when
Yes.
when
Yes.
it's possible for you? And
Yes.
naturally, ce projet, en fait, je l'ai commencé l'année dernière, comme je l'ai dit, et c'est sûr. Donc, j'ai pris comme médium les serviettes hygiéniques. Pour un manque d'accès par moment à certaines femmes d'avoir ces serviettes hygiéniques.
Okay.
Déjà.
So last year she started this project and she used as a medium the periodical women pads because this is something to say that this kind of the pads, they're not available to everybody, to all women in the world. There are lots of them, they don't have access to this.
Il faut dire aussi que dans certaines cultures, le fait d'avoir des menstruations, dans certaines religions, le fait d'avoir des menstruations, c'est toujours pas évident.
Yeah, and there are lots of cultures where it's the menstruation is still a taboo, and it's very difficult for women to deal with it.
Et quand je dis, par exemple, d'un côté, il y a les menstruations qui signifient la vie, parce que c'est un cycle. Et de l'autre côté, il y a ce côté paradoxal où on dit la femme peut donner la vie, mais la femme est sale quand elle a ses menstruations.
Yeah, so there is a notion of on one hand, this is a process which gives lives. It's a process of birth giving, and on the other side, something which is considered insane and dirty, and yeah. So this is in the middle of this, there is a paradox.
Et ce que j'ai cousu, en fait, ce sont les adjectifs en arabe littéraire, même pas en tunisien, en arabe littéraire. Je les ai traduits et je les ai cousus sur les serviettes hygiéniques. C'est des adjectifs qui diminutifs de la femme.
So this is the adjectives written in Arabic, adjective which diminish the value of woman, which talks about this, the insanity of women, all this difficult adjectives. So she took a red thread and sewed on the pads. This is a red thread with stitches. She made stitches. Okay.
So what I wanted to say, sorry for the inconvenience.
You're welcome.
What I wanted to say is that on our first Galate talk, we spoke about the incredible thing that in French, you still say droit de l'homme,
Yeah.
man's rights. I mean, it's incredible, but it's like that. So we had to even discuss a lot because for me, it sounds, I mean, it's heresy. I mean, saying still the rights of men, no, instead of human rights. And they kind of, there is a kind of compromise like les droits fondamentaux, no, fundamental rights. No, it's human rights. That's why I love Layla, your art. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Very challenging, very questioning to the viewer. And it's what the Greeks used to say, no? You succeed in putting something beautiful, true, and good. And then men have to admit that we exist because that's our fundamental right to exist and to have an identity. I loved the title of this presentation, because we have the right to be, and it's not like a neo-capitalistic thing. I feel like this, so I buy this identity. No, there is skin, there is blood, there is body there. No, I mean, you have to be. I mean, your art, Layla, gets, I think, arises very deep feelings in people, no, kind of passion, no, and then disgust, and then say, why disgust? Because we have been taught to despise and to reject everything feminine, no. So please, to the audience, feel free to make any questions, that we have this opportunity with, you know, an in-person artist. You can raise your hands if you want, where it says reactions, I guess. Just a minute. No. So just let me know by chat. And something else, when you were so sick, is that the moment when you became conscious of your body, of the importance of your body? How did this happen?
It's a long process to feel itself, to feel that you feel the part of your body that you lucky to breathe, and this breathe I will project on my white paper. So white paper as a book. So it's really difficult to describe it. I think it's very personal, and as I said, when I became a little bit healthy, I could draw, I could express myself without feelings. Without feeling that I'm sick.
You know, your work reminds me a lot of Frida Kahlo, you know, the Mexican painter, who emphasizes on women's bodies, no, and who describes blood, no, female blood, and who scandalized. Imagine the society in the 1940s, Mexican societies. In Mexico, I can tell you that is traditional. So I think that this art makes feminism advance, makes us women aware of the rejection we have learned to have towards our bodies. No, bodies have to be this way, and only this part should be shown and not the rest. And so I love it. I really loved your work, and it really made me
so much
of Frida.
Yeah.
And Frida Kahlo, sorry, but Frida Kahlo wants to add something. For Frida Kahlo was the shadow of Diego Rivera too. I mean, she expressed herself because she was sick, but she was like rejected by Diego Rivera too, I think, and her history like devoted too, very devoted Frida Kahlo.
The funny thing is that in those times, Diego Rivera was the star, and she was the shadow of Diego Rivera. And now it's exactly the opposite.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
So curious because everybody knows Frida's paintings, but not Diego Rivera. I like Diego Rivera, but he himself used to say that the real artist was her. No?
Yeah, he disappeared with the time.
Yeah, exactly, because he was a kind of fashion artist, or you know, the kind of like Botero, you know, very popular. Everybody wants a piece of Botero by Botero, and so on. But then Botero died, and yes, he's somebody very famous and so on, but we don't speak about him. There is nothing that inspires us from the human point of view, no? And that's what your art accomplishes so well.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Please.
Hi.
Hi, Layla. So my name is Frank. We met each other at various art exhibitions and so on, and so I'm really excited that there's so much that you have to show to us this evening.
Thank you.
And the first section of what you have shown to us was about kisses, and there was one brother kiss as well. So that reminded me of a section of the Berlin Wall, which shows this specific painting, which is obviously related to this kiss between Erich Honecker and I guess it was either Gorbachev or Brezhnev. How did you? Why have you chosen this kind of picture?
I wanted to draw different kisses. So kiss between men and men. So to defend the LGBTQT community, or between women and women. And the brotherly kiss was like, I don't know, I open a book and have sometimes an image from a kiss and I draw it.
Yeah,
so
okay.
It's like a fragment that I wanted to put it in this book. So I open the page of a book, and I wanted to draw it like a fragment of my memory. But it can be a fragment of your memory, because it's really well known too. So socialism kiss. Sozusagen.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know, on the PowerPoint there was another drawing, and behind this brotherly kiss between Brezhnev and Honecker, and it was about a Catholic brotherly kiss too. So I hope I could answer your questions.
Yes. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So I don't know. Sometimes, like I said, I woke up and I think about something and I draw it on this white paper. It's like I have to write it, I have to draw it.
I loved when you said that art is your sanctuary. Can you please develop on that? Because it's such beautiful.
I'm not the good person to speak about religion, but when I said art is my sanctuary, it's like art is my room where I find myself. Art is my room when I can read my own Bible, my own to have my own regel.
Ideas, yeah.
Where I feel free. So I enter in my mind, I enter in this room, la chambre claire, from it can be a room where you develop your photo, for example, and in this room you will reveal a photography, and this will be my photography. So in this room, in my sanctuary, I go in, I take my pellicule, I take a picture here, the association in my mind, and then I will develop my photography, and I will reveal it on my white paper. So this could be a definition, I hope.
No, I love it because you speak about sanctuary, you speak about revelation. You know, when you develop something and it reveals, it something else. That's I think it's a very spiritual concept, and it's not paradoxical. I think it complements the body part of your art. No, I think it goes so well together with that. I mean, well, I'm body, but I'm also spiritual. No? Please, 2 more questions and we can close.
Okay, well, I have a question.
Yeah.
Concerning your project about mutilated legs and about the pain, because you took, well, there was a question of your lost German identity and the pain, and this black page of Holocaust, the story. And I realized how this pain you had was deep, and the way you expressed it artistically was really cool, because it was, well, the images on themselves, they're very magnificent, and they're very beautiful, and there are lots of pain hidden inside. So could you please tell me about the images and this transition between Holocaust and image?
Yeah, of course. So let me talk about my personal story. First of all, at this time, I wanted to find my German identity. So I returned to. I went in Germany for a few months, so 2006. And I've worked there for 6 months, and it was like pain. It was like I'm searching, I'm questioning myself about my identities. Am I Tunisian? Am I German? Whether French at the French school? So those identities make my person, but I'm searching myself, and I'm questioning myself about my identities. This is one part. The second part of this project is the Holocaust, and I felt like guilty about this black page from the German history. As I've said, sometimes I make project and it's like, I have to tell something. I have to exchange about this idea. And the third part of this project, Mutilated Legs, is about the consummation of the consummation from war images. Sometimes we've seen the information or the war photographies, and they are no more sense because they are manipulated by the media. They move to a place, to another place, and we have no. There are no. Ils n'ont plus de sens. Ils n'ont plus de pouvoir.
Depth anymore. Like we don't. We see something very terrible, but we don't even know what is it, because we're overwhelmed every day with these images. Well, of wars and horrors, and we don't even know what it's it. We just consume it, and we remain sensitive to it.
This is what this project is about. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, right, okay.
Okay, is there a last question to be made? No? Well, anyway, this recording will be hung in the YouTube channel of Galate. So if you want to revisit or share it with your friends, it will be there in some days. So thank you so much for having joined us today. Thank you very much, Layla Reguiaï. Your art is really inspiring.
Thank you.
It is inspiring, it is important, and above all, it is necessary. It's necessary. And of course, thank you so much, our chairwoman, Xenia, for being with us. And this is our last talk for this year. So please stay alert for our next cycle of talks. They are in French, English, and Spanish, of course. And stay tuned. And thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful holidays, Christmas, whatever, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. I'm going.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
And bye.
Thank you, Marcus, and all the other participants.
Thank you.
Bye.